Welcome to Radio Dispatch Video. We're back. We took a little while, but here we are. We've got Rosie, and we're going to sit and talk to you with our faces instead of just with our voices. So John has talked on the normal audio show before about his trip to Beirut, but we figured the video would be a good chance to talk a little bit more at length about one of the big stories that you wrote when you were there about the crisis of stateless babies.
Yeah, so the refugee crisis stemming from the Syrian war is, of course, ongoing. It's getting worse. In Lebanon, there are about 1.5 million refugees, Syrian refugees living in Lebanon, which itself is a very small country.
Also, Lebanon already has a bunch of refugees, Palestinian refugees, too.
Throughout Lebanon, you have these small de facto informal camps set up where people are giving birth, and in many cases the babies being born don't have proper documentation, so they might not have a birth certificate, they might not be registered with the UN or with the government of Lebanon, and what can come from that is eventually is statelessness. It essentially means that you don't have an ID, you don't have a nationality, which is a human right.
Mm-hmm. Knock the table.
Yeah. If a parent's legal status isn't up to date, then they can't register their children. To keep their residency status up to date, parents have to pay $200 annually per person. So there are all kinds of hurdles in the way of registering these children, and in many cases there's also just a lack of information about the steps that go into it.
There's this entire generation being born not only as refugees with a kind of immediate lack of resources and lack of support, but potentially with a much longer term crisis of not having documentation for either of these two countries.
I think that what we're really seeing is the beginnings of a generational problem here. And I think that's probably a good place to leave it.
Thanks for watching and for listening.